They're not interested. They're not interested. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the afternoon session on the Digital Learning Channel. We are here live with our CDLI team, me, myself, and my Dig In team. I've got James here. And back to the afternoon. I have myself playing in the background, so sorry. And we are here with SAVAS as well. We've got some great team members in the chat ready to answer questions that you have. So keep those going and introduce yourself, and thanks for being here. So we're gonna kick this off with a video from the beautiful Dr. Coleman. And if anyone can unmute and make sure that they can see this video. Make sure I share my screen. That would be the problem. All right, can we see her?
We can.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna play it.
I'm excited to kick off a series of trainings this week focused on the SAVAS Realize digital curriculum and our resources here in JCPS. So as you know, any resource that we use has to be viewed with a very critical eye to make sure it aligns to standards, to make sure it is aligned with our work in racial equity, and to make sure that it's appropriate for our students and the kinds of learning experiences we want for them. We certainly weren't anticipating the purchase of a digital curriculum, but the context we're in requires that we continue to think differently. And we hope that this product will help to ensure a level of equity for our students in the virtual context, as well as a good tool for you as teachers that can be modified as much or as little as you'd like. So I'm appreciative that our two teams have come together, and I think the sessions this week that you can watch live or recorded will be especially helpful moving forward. Thank you for all you're doing for our students, and please don't hesitate to reach out when you have questions or ideas even that would make this time even better for all of us. Thank you.
All right, thanks Dr. Coleman for joining us. And so sorry we have that. And I am going to turn it over to our SAVAS expert over here, Miss Cindy. So she's going to share her screen and get us started.
So Rebecca, you were going, well, no.
Go ahead and share your screen and I'll talk through those first slides.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Cindy Ham, and I am your SAVAS Realize partner for today.
Did you share your screen and pop those slides up there?
I did. Maybe not. Yeah. Okay.
There we
There
go.
I go. My mistake. I apologize.
Perfect.
I was
And then
too excited to get started.
Go ahead and pop your closed captioning on and press that hide button for us.
There you
Perfect.
go. Okay. So my name is Cindy Ham, and I am your SAVAS Realize guide for today.
And then we've got Andrea Higdon and Amy Crawford from our elementary math and JCPS math teams from those CDLI teams. And then I'm Rebecca Reynolds. I guess I should have introduced myself earlier. Digital innovation leader with our innovation team. And you can go ahead into the next one. And we've obviously got the great Jim Unger running OBS in the background. Thankful for him.
So this is our PD roadmap for today. We kind of divided it into 3 parts. I'm going to start with part 1 and to give you a big overview of the platform.
I'm Andrea, and I'll talk about instructional design in part 2.
And then I'm Rebecca, and I'm going to talk to you guys about the student and teacher experience.
So these are our goals for today. We're going to get started in the SAVAS platform, and don't be intimidated. This is not one and done. This is just one of many, many professional development sessions that you'll have. And then we're going to look at integrating the SAVAS content into your instructional design, developing playlists, and integrating with Google Classroom.
And I just want to reiterate what Dr. Coleman just said. We always begin with the Kentucky standards, our curriculum and instructional framework, so we meet the needs of every student in Jefferson County with our racial equity work. And we have the SAVAS platform now as digital content available for teachers to use as a resource.
Okay, so we're going to get started in the SAVAS platform with part 1. So navigating the platform. So the screen you see is your home page for both teachers and students using our default theme. If you're a K-1-2 teacher, your students may actually be using the early learning theme as it is less busy and easier to navigate. So on the screen, you see 3 circles. The first circle is Browse, which is where you will find your content. When you click on Browse, you will access or be able to look at your curriculum and enter the curriculum to look at the resources. Any program that you have added to the Realize platform will always be accessible under the Browse button. Classes is where you will go to find a list of your various classes. For the elementary teacher, you may have different classes set up for each subject. Under classes is where you will also see any assignments that you've made to your classes. You can look at the progress of those assignments, your calendar, and a list of your students. Data is where any assignment that is auto-graded, such as a quick check, a practice buddy, or an assessment, will live. You can look at item analysis and student analysis to get more detailed information about that particular assignment. At the top, you see the word My Library. My Library is like a filing cabinet where you can find any assignments that you have customized within the Realize platform. It is also where any link or document that you may add to Realize will also be housed, as well as any playlist you're going to build to house all of your resources for one assignment. The items at the top are also clickable and will take you to the same places as clicking the circled words at the bottom. So now let's look at Browse or your content. So by clicking Browse, you can see all of the programs that you have added to your account. Here you can see an example of different programs in this particular account. Under each one, you can see a star. By starring it, it allows you to sort or filter the different curriculum or the different content you've got loaded. This is especially great for an elementary teacher because you may have not only your grade level content loaded for your English, your science, and your math, but you also may have the grade below or the grade above or another grade where you want to pull resources for your students. By starring your grade level, it will pull those to the top. And if you sort by favorites, those will remain at the top. Classes and assignments. When you click on the word classes, it will take you to your list of classes, all the ones that are created in the account or those that you've brought in from Google Classroom. Let's look at the different icons located under a particular class. If you click on the word assignments, it will give you a detailed list of all assignments that you have created and assigned to your classes. You can either sort these assignments by class, which is like the screen that you see here. Once you're in this screen, you can also click the due date and sort them again, either in ascending or descending order. If you click on assignments by student, then it pulls up this screen where you can see all of the students in your classes, and you can also sort their assignments by completed, not completed, or in progress to see where a student is with their assignments. If you click on the word calendar, then it brings up a calendar view, and the items posted on the calendar are due dates for those assignments. If you click on students in groups, then it opens a list of all of your students with their name and their username. Because you will be pulling in from Google Classroom, you probably will not be editing or resetting passwords. Data and mastery. So when you click on the data tab, you're able to view the data from any assignments that you have made that are auto-graded by the computer. When you open the word data, you can see each of your classes, and underneath each one, you see two ways to sort: class results by assignment or class mastery by standard. So first, we're going to look at class results by assignment. By clicking this, you get this secondary page that you see here with 3 different ways to sort your data. The top one represents the scores from all of the assignments. Each bar that you see on the graph represents a single assignment. If you click on that bar, then you're taken to another page where you can get analysis for that one assignment. You can get mastery analysis, question analysis, so you can sort in math and see what's the most commonly missed question or what the most common mistake would have been, error. You can also get a student analysis, and you can get a performance analysis, which will allow you to group your students and assign resources to just that group. The middle section will show you progress on their assignments. So this is an overall progress as to the completion rate of a particular assignment. Each dot represents a particular assignment, and you can select and drag the gray column to pan the data to get a closer view or a smaller window of a piece of data that you want to look at. The bottom is usage, and the same thing. Each dot represents an assignment. You can also use the gray box to pan and get a closer view of just that segment, which is what you're seeing here. When you click on a particular dot and you get that secondary data, you'll get a list of all of the students and how long they spent in an assignment. Knowing that students can start an assignment and walk away, you want to really analyze that data as far as time. If you look at class mastery by standard, all of the standards will be loaded into the curriculum, and you can get a mastery by class, which is an overall picture. This particular report changes every time you give an assessment because it's based on summative assessment. The one that's highlighted shows that this particular standard was tested has been tested 4 times, and that this particular student got all 4 of those correct. So they've mastered so far that particular standard. If you click on the standard, you can then see what that standard was in reference to. Library and playlist. So if I click on my library, then it opens up my filing cabinet. In the middle, you're seeing a list of everything located in my library right now. Some of them are playlists, some of them are single assignments, or may not even be assignments. They're just items that I've pulled into the library. On the left, in your Create Content menu, you've got some choices. So if we look at these, if you click Upload a File, you're able to pull in a file from your computer, which is limited to a 10 megabyte file, or you can pull in from Google Drive or from Microsoft OneDrive. Give it a title, a description if needed, and certify that you've got rights to use it. If you click on Add a Link, then you would copy the URL from whatever item you want to pull in. You would put a title and a description. You can pull in URLs from anywhere, from a Khan Academy video to a YouTube video to a song, or even an app that you're currently using in class where students are creating. This is what a playlist looks like. So it's always this icon that lets me know it's a playlist with a list and the plus sign meaning that I've added items. When I open that playlist, then I'm able to see all of the items in there. If they're not in the order that you want them in, you can always edit and rearrange. You can add to, you can take away. You've got other options under the three little dots. Notifications help in settings, including Google Classroom. So at the top of your home page, you also have some other icons. So this is your notifications. If something is shared with you from an administrative point of view, or an announcement is made from SAVAS, you would get notification of that under this little bell. If there is a notification there that you have not read, it will have a little red dot in the upper right-hand corner. Question mark is where you'll go for all help. So when you click on question mark, you've got help for this page, which gives you platform training. You've also got program training, which is going to take you out to our training site, which is called My SAVAS Training. You would type your program in the search box, and there you would find tutorials and handouts for the program itself. The last item at the top right is your profile icon. When you click on that, you've got choices, settings, where you can go to make changes or add additional programs, announcements. If SAVAS is going to shut the program down on a Saturday night because they're doing updates, that's where you would find announcements, or an announcement of a new feature, or where you would go to sign out. We're going to look at settings. So in settings on the account page, you have choices where you can edit your settings, but because you're single sign-on, these are managed by your district. At the bottom, there's also a place where you can link your Google Classrooms, and there's information there if you click on the click here to learn more about. At the top, so we just looked at account. If you look at my programs, then you will see all of the programs or product that your district has a license to or access to, and you're welcome to check whatever products that you would like added to your program. Just know that once you check and add them to your program, you cannot get rid of them. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Andrea and quit sharing my screen.
Thank you, Miss Cindy. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to try to share my screen and get this going quickly. So we're going to talk about integrating content in instructional design. As we begin with instructional design.
Oh, sorry, Andrea. Andrea, I always do that. Can you turn your CCs on real quick?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
No, don't worry about it. Awesome. You look great. We can see it. Looks good.
Large. Okay, is my CC on now? Yep.
Sure is.
All right. As we begin with instructional design, we always begin with our content standards and our standards of mathematical practice, along with our district vision as we prepare to facilitate these research-based practices that value, engage, and empower all of our learners. We ensure this vision by applying the research of concrete representational abstract model you see on the left. We know that one thinking and talking is the one learning. So we approach mathematics as an inquiry subject where students are provided these intentional opportunities to develop conceptual understanding. Conceptual understanding, defined by Kentucky academic standards, refers to the understanding of mathematical concepts, operations, and relations. Conceptual understanding is more than knowing these isolated facts and methods and algorithms. Students should be able to make sense of why a mathematical idea is important and the types of context it's useful. Conceptual understanding allows students to connect their prior knowledge with new ideas and concepts, moving every student forward. The research from Adding It Up, Helping Children Learn Mathematics in 2001, has shared with us that concrete representational abstract research is the most effective thing we can do for all students, and that is why it is vital, and the first leg of the mathematical rigor is conceptual understanding. To steal a quote from Joe Bowler, mathematics is about creativity and making sense. Our students will be emerging innovators and resilient learners as we illuminate their thinking and create mathematical environments where students share and listen and honor, make connections, and then respectfully critique one another's work. So SAVAS has digital content available for resources. As educators who know our kids, we come to the table with several tools: the curriculum frameworks, the instructional frameworks, our standards deconstruction tool, the Achieve the Core focus document, along with the digital content to design learning experiences. If you look at the screen, we begin with the unit story on the left from the curriculum framework. This unit story is a brief narrative that provides the big ideas and how these standards are connected to support conceptual understanding. The Achieve the Core focus document seen on the bottom right is critical guidance, and it's linked in the curriculum framework, as it clearly defines the major clusters and the essential standards needed. Essential standards have endurance, which means value beyond the test date. This again points to conceptual understanding and strategy development. Essential standards also have leverage, knowledge and skills or value in multiple disciplines. We know that STEM careers are some of the fastest growing, like 33% up every year. And 93 out of 100 STEM occupations have higher wages than the average. And the last piece is essential is readiness for next level learning. Mathematics is much like literacy. Students have got to have a strong foundation of conceptual understanding and strategies developed to apply math within and outside the classroom. This guidance from Achieve the Core is even more vital now with limited virtual instruction time and unfinished learning. The major clusters in that Achieve the Core document are recommended for 80% of our instructional time, and the present reality, maybe even more. The bottom red box also comes from the curriculum frameworks. These are essential understandings and essential questions that may be helpful as you design inquiry opportunities and lessons. Within the frameworks, you'll see anchor charts and a tools table provided that will support you with intentional strategies, multiple representations, and models to develop conceptual understanding and procedural fluency as you unpack with the unit planning tool. I am so sorry, I just opened the wrong thing. There we go. Now you see my screen?
It looks good.
All right. So this is the SAVAS content. The SAVAS digital content is currently aligned with the Common Core standards, and the 3 pages you see were provided as in a teacher guide. We created a digital source with our friends at the Digital Learning Innovation Team for your convenience. And that top part where the title is linkable. As our Partnership Plus coaches come on, they're going to further this work and make a crosswalk with the Kentucky academic standards and the digital content. As teachers, we control the task we give, the questions we ask, and the answers we accept. We will apply our professional judgment as we choose these SAVAS tasks as a resource for rigor. On the left, you'll see the instructional framework. The first part of that is fluency and number sense routines. We know the importance of building number sense with our students. We also know that students are not taught number sense, but rather engage in rich experiences of math discourse with intentional problems, which may include models to prompt students to develop and use strategies. And the teacher's job is to name and connect and support these strategies to provide access for all students. The book on the left, Number Talk by Sherry Parrish, provides specific number strings designed to bring about these strategies. However, all solutions and strategies are shared and openly discussed because the focus is on thinking and discourse. Again, the one thinking and talking is the one doing the learning. Our students are effective communicators as they share their strategies and all become more flexible in their thinking. And they apply their strategies appropriately to accurately find solutions efficiently. That's fluency. This is a resource which needs to be intentionally added in to your virtual instruction. Fluency games on the bottom two parts you see of the screen are also linked, and these provide students the opportunities in small groups or pairs or with family members to apply strategies and have math discourse as they become more flexible, strategic, efficient, and accurate. As students become more fluent with their basic facts and strategies, they have more working memory to solve these increasingly complex problems, as well as apply understanding with math structure. I'm especially thankful today to have Rachel Schwager, a teacher here for second grade, to talk about how she uses these resources along with the SAVAS content in her virtual classroom.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rachel Schwager. I'm excited to be here today. I am going to briefly discuss how I use Number Talks in my classroom and now virtually during NTI. As Andrea stated, it is a daily number sense routine to support fluency and strategy development. These are purposely crafted number strings that the students solve mentally. They are focused on developing a strategy, but they can use any strategy. As you can see here on the two anchor charts that I have added, the first one here on the left, 7 plus 7, my students use the double 10 frames to support their thinking if it was needed. Some did not need it. As you can see, my two students solved it, the two students at the top solved it two different ways. The number string over here on the left shows you what is in the book. Like I said, they're purposely crafted to develop fluency and strategy development. So they use 7 plus 7 to help them solve 7 plus 9. And again, you can see that my students had different strategies. As Andrea mentioned, all answers are accepted, and I put them over to the left on my anchor chart. I did that in the classroom, and I still do that now during NTI. Students then defend their answers. Number Talks really gives the teachers an idea. It helps me to understand, or teachers to understand, how students are making sense of mathematics, how they're making sense of numbers. Do they see the relationships with numbers? Are they seeing patterns? And like we mentioned, they are purposely crafted. So it's essential that they have the foundational facts mastered before you can get into the derived facts. And the book, like we said, is very purposeful with creating those sequentially. If we go to the next slide, Andrea, I'll turn it back to you, I believe. Yes.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. And thank you all you teachers out there doing the hard work, meeting the needs of our kids. And as you saw Rachel's example, we can do this on an anchor chart, and we can use tools like Jamboard. So I so appreciate that we see the multiple ways that we can reach our kids.
And I should have talked more on that, I guess. I use the anchor charts And I also have transferred Number Talks over to Jamboard as well.
And we'll show some of your examples with the guide and coach here too, because you can see those digital tools that Rachel uses then as well. So when we step into SAVAS content, we look at following that number sense routine, we have an opportunity to guide and coach. And SAVAS has a few tools that are particularly helpful. And Rachel had helped us advise us because she's been using it for quite some time. There's the solve and share, the convince me, the 3-act task, and then selecting a few intentional problems from the independent practice. As we select these intentional tasks, we still remember the importance and the access of that concrete representational abstract research. Both solve and share and convince me have manipulatives available, but the students will need prompting and coaching, as Rachel has reminded me, to help them know how to do this. We can also bring in an additional resource with the Math Learning Center, and I want to attempt to show you how we can bring that in. So when we talk about selecting a few intentional problems, I can go directly to the SAVAS content and choose the Student Edition practice under problem solving, because I want to begin with an inquiry approach rather than naked numbers. So I go down to problem solving and I'm going to select this problem that has context and meaning. And so I'm going to highlight this problem really quickly. And then I'm going to open the Math Learning Center manipulatives. And I'm going to go to number pieces, which are base 10 blocks. We know that second graders make meaning using these base 10 pieces of place value and applying. So I'm going to open a text box. I'm just going to paste that problem really quickly. And then as a teacher, I can export that either on a playlist or directly into Google Classroom with this link. The best thing is the students will then have the link each individually, and they can build this problem and make sense of decomposition through this. And as they show that, they can add a text box, explain their work. And then with this key here, they can copy that link and export it directly back to Google Classroom and turn into me as the teacher. So I can see their work and I can see their thinking to provide feedback. I'm going to pass it back to Rachel to talk a little bit about how she does that too.
Yeah, and to speak directly to specifically to what you just mentioned, I do that with my students. And to give you some up-to-date current feedback, I'm now looking at my Google Classroom, which I know you all cannot see, but I assigned a math assignment this morning that was I used a problem from Envision, and I copied and pasted it into the Math Learning Center, and I exported it back to Classroom. And four students, the instructions were to complete it before math class. Well, math class starts in 55 minutes, and I've had 5 turn it in so far. So I already have a pretty good idea of who can do what in their understanding with 3-digit numbers and place value. It was just introduced last week. So I have looked at student work this morning, and we'll use that work to guide my instruction during the synchronous lesson at 2 o'clock. I also have here as you can see on this screen, the students have the solve and share option. And this is actually here in the top left corner. This is student work. The problem reads, how can you use place value blocks to show 125? Explain. Draw your blocks to show what you did. So they had the option of using the pen. They have the option, the icon actually is a stamp. And once you click the stamp, they have the option for base 10 blocks, connecting cubes. The most appropriate tool would be obviously the base 10 blocks for this problem. And so they are able to turn that in. I'm able to see what they're thinking, even in this virtual world that we are in right now. Right below that, I copied and pasted some problems onto Jamboard. And as you can see, there's 2 different problems. I'm looking at the bottom left, the higher order thinking and the assessment practice. I was able to, with the new update, who was in the meet, and they were able to join that Jamboard live. So we were all working within the same Jamboard at the same time, interacting. I let them choose. I think it's really important that students have voice and choice, and I let them choose which problem they wanted to solve first. As you can see, most chose the problem on the right, and it let me know that they really do have a good understanding of the value of the tens place, of that 6 and 862. They know that the value is 60. 6 tens has a value of 60. Then they were prompted to go on and try the higher order thinking problem. As you can see, one of my students, Milo, put 10 tens down. The problem reads, a class needs to build a number 123 with place value blocks, but does not have any hundreds blocks. How can they build 123 using other place value blocks? He put 10 tens. This, because of time, and we were limited, we were running out of time, we had a conversation using Milo's answer. At the top right, this was a solve and share that I had on the screen when all the students logged into math class. I don't think I've mentioned this. I had 2 groups. I've broken my whole class up into 2 different groups. One meets from 2 to 225, and the other meets from 225 to 255. And so this was on the screen when they logged in. I, of course, said hello and good afternoon to them, but then they immediately got started solving that problem. They do know to wait a few minutes before they send out their sticky note. But this also gave me a good idea of their thinking. The solve and share is something that I do at the very beginning of math workshop when we are in the building. They are on the carpet in front of the smartboard. The solve and share is on the screen, and they sit quietly on the carpet with their dry erase board and marker, and they solve it. They also have the option to use manipulatives. I have 4 bins on the carpet when we're in the classroom. And if they need those, they're welcome to use those. And then they share their thinking. So of course, we still have continued the sharing part during NTI. Down here, the students in the bottom right, you can see the students are engaged with dry erase boards at home. This was a question around place value, and it was one of the first days that we had started working with 3-digit numbers. And I will turn it back over to Andrea.
Thank you, Rachel, for sharing these real examples. I love the bottom right where you can see the screen of kids, where Rachel has taken the time to send whiteboards home, but you see that some of those students couldn't find the whiteboard, so they had a piece of paper, another had a phone, but all have a way to actively engage. And how you've also used Jamboard, and you've selected those problems really carefully for students to engage in. Now let's think about some asynchronous work possibilities and the different pieces of SAVAS that are available. Practice Buddy, you can choose a few intentional problems. The advantage of Practice Buddy is it checks for students so they can keep trying. The quick check is where you can get an accuracy grade, but we noticed with the quick check, they don't have manipulatives available. So if they don't have concrete manipulatives at home, they'll have to have access another way, maybe Math Learning Center sent in your Google Classroom. We also talked about adding the Fluency strategy games in as an anytime resource. You could also have a problem-based learning with essential standards. And then Rachel spoke a little bit about how she proactively uses Solve and Share and the Visual Learning Bridge. We'll talk more about that later, but the Solve and Share is really designed to give students an opportunity to try the math first, which is that inquiry model. And it's also designed with coherence with the standards to be the skills and understandings kids need to enter the lesson. So it's something they do in the very beginning. Rachel, do you want to add on to any of that?
Yeah, just like Andrea said, my students do that in the very beginning. And depending on what my students need, what I've seen the day before, and it's different. It depends on, the group and their specific needs. In my the formative assessment and observations that I've taken, depending on all of that, I decide if I send the visual learning video ahead of time. Most of the time I do. And then the Solve and Share most of the time is presented at the beginning. However, I have sent that asynchronously ahead of the synchronous session. It depends on, again, their needs and the formative data that I have.
And we'll talk a little more intentionally about how to select that in a few moments. But what Rachel's really get to, and what I heard her say over and over again, is she's careful about what she selects. She doesn't assign all the work, but she's careful about those problems that she selects for her kids to meet their needs in a reasonable amount of time. I also want to point to differentiation. SAVAS has content that you may use. They have STEM projects and pick a project, which may be ideas to begin as we think about using the 4Ps process. And they also have intervention activities with advice. And so thinking about manipulatives and how to bring those in, as well as today's challenge. Rachel, do you want to add into any of these differentiation pieces?
I have used some of these in the classroom. I have not used these specific pieces during NTI. However, I do differentiate using still the problems within each topic, whether it is, the pink check marked questions. If you look at the teacher's guide, there are strategically selected, purposely selected problems that are great to use. And then there's the higher order thinking questions. And then there are 3-act tasks as well that are awesome. Again, I've only used the 3-act test within the classroom, but I'm still able to differentiate using all the materials within Envision for my students.
Thanks, Rachel. So in the middle, you'll see a draft of the Instructional Framework for Distance Learning. It has links that you may find helpful, and I created a column on the far right and possible SAVAS content that may fit aligned with that instructional framework. I want to look to the graphic on the top right, which I have taken from the distance learning playbook that was just published. When we think about our synchronous meets, those are opportunities to collaborate and coach and facilitate. They're student action, they're student-centered. Whereas our asynchronous work is more focused on the demonstrating and practicing. And that's when we might send out those screencast videos of us explaining things or provide assignments to students to try before they come in. So the meet is about the discourse. On the right, there's just a sample possible planning with SAVAS content, bringing the resources in to ensure we meet all the needs of all of our kids. And on the left, you see a playlist that I quickly created using SAVAS content. And then I brought in a task from Illustrative Math and used Math Learning Center, as well as a higher order thinking problem solving task from SAVAS and used the Math Learning Center manipulatives to give students a holistic experience. Anything you want to add, Rachel, before I pass it to my friend, Rebecca?
Nope, it sounds great.
All right, Andrea is going to stay on here and drive for me, but we're at the last part for you guys, and I'm going to go through the student experience and kind of the back end for teachers grading. In our ELA session this morning, we talked about that SAVAS Tip Sheet, so we have that linked in there for you guys. And Andrea was so awesome and added in some links in there for the math curriculum and SAVAS correlation, so that'll be great for you guys to utilize. So we're going to go through the student experience. I know Chris in the chat mentioned that SAVAS has those awesome manipulatives for the kids to use. And we know elementary have a hard time toggling back and forth between those tabs. So I just wanted to include these directions for you to send home with your parents or to go over with your class on how they can split their screen and kind of do 2 things at once. So that's really helpful. So this one's for a Chromebook. And then the next one is if they are on an iPad. And if they have other devices, there's tons of videos and things to help them with that. So we're going to talk about integrating with your Google Classroom that you already have. So for you as the teacher to access, you're going to pop into your JCPS quick links and you're going to access that SAVAS Realize through Clever. And you'll just scroll down a little and it'll be that little white tab there. You're doing great, Andrea, by the way, driving. So then they're going to select that SAVAS Realize button. And when you first click on classes, there's going to be a little prompt there and you're going to import your Google Classroom. Super easy. So that same thing, you're going to click who you are, use your JCPS account and scroll down until you see that blue allow button. After you've done that and you have your Google Classroom, or not Google Classroom, your Google account linked, you're going to see a list of all your active Google Classrooms. You can only add one at a time. So when you open your option, you're going to click in that example portion and you're going to add the program that you need to add one at a time. So after you click which ones you want, so we've got like conceptual physics and things like that, you have your whole list of each program you've got in there, and then all you're going to have to do is click import class. So after you've done all your imported classes, you're going to be able to see all of those with that green check mark with the imported up in the corner. And then you're just going to click that blue finish and view classes to make sure it looks good to go. So once all of those are imported, they are all going to be under that classes tab, just like you see below. And there's tons of different options. You've got your view assignments and then calendar. And you can change that to list view or grid view for your calendar. And then you can hide your old classes if you don't want to see them from the kids. And then you're going to click if you need to import more Google classes on the bottom. So when you go into add assignments for your students, the first time it'll look like the box above, but usually you'll have that giant list of everything that you've added in there already. But the first time you'll have to click that blue link, exploring your programs. And it'll take you to that browse section, just like Miss Cindy showed us earlier. So you can select which programs you want to add to your Google Classroom, and then you're going to find the content within that browse button and add that thumbnail or list view. So up there's, and I don't know if you can move your mouse over it, Andrea, there's a white and a black button that says thumbnail and list view. It's kind of like how Google Drive is. It's up to the viewer. I know Cindy said she liked list view in SAVAS. And then once you get your assignments, you're going to click assign, and it's a really small button, I know, for you guys right now, but it's where that purple arrow is pointing. And then you're going to pop in a title and then your dates and then instructions. And then over on the right-hand side, you're going to have your list of classrooms that you've added, and then you will click which one you're going to assign that to. So that's really helpful if you're assigning it to multiple classrooms. So you can have that, and then you'll click assign. And then when you click assignments and you go in further, you can check what the students have done. If you look at that purple arrow and it says needs to connect, that means students who have not been to the Google Classroom since you synced it next to their name, you'll know that you need to check in with them and further that. And then co-teachers, I know that that's really important for a lot of us. We have a lot of people who need to access that. You'll be able to add co-teachers and they'll have the same permissions. Okay, so assessing assignments. Students will access their SAVAS through Google Classroom. So we have a little sample assignment and they'll just click that link. It's super easy. We kind of talked about Google Classroom as like that gateway or doorway for SAVAS for them to grab those links. It'll direct them to the digital curriculum. So same thing with your teacher account. They'll go through and choose their account and then scroll down and click that blue allow button. And then once it's launched, they're going to be able to go in and click which language that they need, which is awesome. And then they get to pick a cute little profile icon and a background image, which makes it a little bit more engaging for our younger kiddos. And then they'll just get to click let's go. Turning in work. So once students find access to their SAVAS assignments in Google Classroom, they'll still click that link of view assignment. It'll say assigned at the top. They'll have to go in through SAVAS and click that black turn in button. They'll have the option to attach a file. I think that's in the next slide. I get ahead of myself sometimes. And it'll be blue before they turn it in. And then there we go. Now you guys can see that they can attach a file under that turn-in button, attach from computer, attach from Google Drive. This really reminds me of our backpack platform. So they should be familiar with how to use this, hopefully. And then they can pop a little comment on there and give some feedback for you. So once students click in, they're going to say, yes, ready to turn it in. It gives them that second prompt. And then as you can see on the bottom, that blue box turns into a green box with a check mark. So that's cool for them to see. And it'll say completed in green down at the bottom. So grading work, once that student turns it in and gets that green check, this is what it's going to look like on your end as the teacher. You can add a comment and then score and review and score that assignment. And then there's a tip down at the bottom. As students complete assignments that are automatically graded in SAVAS, it automatically is turned in through Google Classroom. So I know that can get confusing. If they're trying to turn it in through both platforms, it's going to automatically do it for them. And then there's that tip sheet again. We had that in there twice, but that's okay. It's a great resource for you guys. Andrew, if you want to click it and show them really quick the links that you popped in there with all the curriculum documents. Those are down right there for you guys to grab. So I don't know if maybe Amy has been looking at the chat, if we have any questions we can address live. If not, please reach out to any of us if you have any questions with the platform. Just like Andrea and Cindy said before, this is just our beginning and we're going to be here. We've got Chris with us on the team now. We're going to keep providing you guys with the best resources that we can.
Thanks, team. And I want to give a special shout out. Thanks, Rachel, for being here. You've been using this platform and help providing us some practical experience from a teacher's perspective to help everyone in the district move forward. So thanks, the whole team.
Of course. Thank you. I was happy to be here.
Yeah, Rachel, you got lots of love in the chat.
Thank you all.
And I'm looking at the chat right now. I don't think Chris is killing it with the answers. But I think that's it. The channel will be back next Monday. And I think I can share my screen and show that really quick. Maybe. Okay. We'll let you have your spotlight. Go ahead, Jim.
All right. So we will also be back, let's see, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and hitting SAVAS in elementary social studies tomorrow morning. Elementary science tomorrow afternoon, and then Wednesday morning we have middle school's ELA, middle school math after lunch at 12:30. Thursday morning we have middle school social studies. My favorite after lunch on Thursday will be middle school science. And then we jump over to Monday, October 26th, and we have high school ELA and high school math. And then we wrap it up on Thursday the 27th, which I don't think these dates are correct for some reason.
And we need to fix those. We'll fix them.
High school social studies and high school science. And I did link this in the chat so you can check it out. Obviously, some of those are wrong. We will get them updated before it gets to your day. And also remember, you can always check these out on the JCPS Digital Learning channel. Edited, fancy, happy, just for you. Anything else, Rebecca?
No, I think we're good. Thanks so much for running the channel, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll have this up on the channel and tweet it out later so you guys can watch with the power of pies.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Good job.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, you're good. The stream's ended.
Okay. I'm so awkward.